Hello and welcome to the FileHold video tour series. My name is Kevin, and I'm going to spend a little time walking through the filing process in FileHold. There's three things I want to talk about today. The first one is filing into the FileHold inbox. The second thing we'll talk about is Microsoft Office integration. And then we'll wrap things up with watch folders and auto tagging, some automation in getting documents into the system. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is go into the FileHold desktop application and browse to the FileHold inbox. Think of the inbox as kind of a mailroom or a staging area. This is really just a blank table where we're going to bring content in from various sources, figure out what it is and where it needs to go. So one of the easiest things you can do in the inbox is just drag and drop any files that you need to take care of into the system. So let's do that. I'm going to grab some things from Windows Explorer and just pull them down into the staging area or into the inbox. Now, if you're not a drag and drop kind of person, what you would do is hit this plus sign and navigate out to the files that you want to deal with. Bring those in that way. Okay, and now they're put in the queue. You also could scan into here using any scanner that you want, your multifunction devices, incoming faxes, your desktops, your servers, other applications can talk to FileHold's inbox. But at the end of the day, the concept is always the same. What am I looking at? What is this file? And where does it need to go? No different than if you were filing into a metal filing cabinet or into Windows Explorer even. We need to know what we're dealing with. So the first thing you do is just double click on the file, and we now open it up in its native application. So we can see that Adobe has taken over, and I now have this invoice in front of me. Now it's handy at this level to have a dual monitor if you're doing a lot of filing. You don't need one, but it is nice to have. So if you haven't gotten on the dual monitor train yet, maybe you should consider it. Having this invoice on the left-hand side and then having FileHold open on the right is really conducive to this kind of work, because when you hit Set Metadata, this panel opens up. And in this panel, or in this door, you have a list of all the document types that you've defined for your specific organization. I have a lot of them in here that are not relevant to most people. They're just demos I've done. But you'll see some in here that may be commonly used, like an invoice or like a contract or bid document and so on. If you pick one of these, let's start with an I-9, then the appropriate fields for filing an I-9 are now in front of us. We have the document name, we have the employee name, the number, address, social, and date of birth. Now look what happens if I change it though. If I go to what it actually is, which is an invoice, you will see that not only does the document type change, but so do the required attributes that go along with it. And now these are more relevant to the document I'm filing. I now have vendor name, invoice date, number, amount, PO, and payment terms. Okay, so the first thing we have is this vendor name here, and you could type in a vendor name if you want, or this could be a drop-down list, or this could be a database lookup from your accounting software. So it could be that when I type in Office Max, it then populates some of the other fields because I'm able to pull that from your other system. It could be that we just type in here. It could be that we have pull downs that we use, net 60, or maybe it defaults to net 30 unless we come in and change it. We have those options. But once this metadata is handled, a couple things start to happen. The first thing we do is we delete the file from the source location, so now it only exists in FileHold. It's now subject to security, it's subject to audit trail, and it's now under control. I'm also going to notify people that it's here. So maybe your job is to process invoices as they come in. We can send you a notification immediately, or once a day or once a week, letting you know of all the invoices that have come in a specific time period. Now this is not workflow. Workflow is another video, but you'll be able to see that we can send out notifications and give you visibility of what's happening. Another thing that happens is we will rename the file for you in a standardized naming convention, so that all files are uniform going forward. You no longer have underscores or all caps or kind of a mismanagement of how file names are handled. Even with best intentions, it's better to have things standardized, and FileHold can do that for you. These metadata fields would then be populated. You might see invoice-date-account number, for example. This one says BWT construction. It has a date and then an invoice number. So that's really useful for getting files into the system. Now there's a couple of little tricks to this in terms of getting things done quickly. Sometimes you'll find yourself filing many documents for the same customer. Maybe you have 5 invoices for the same client, or maybe you have 5 documents for the same employee. What you can do is you would highlight several documents at once, and you can edit the metadata at the same time. So I could say all of these are going to be procedures. They're all the same manual number. They're all the same procedure number. However, the issue dates are different, or however the approval person is different. So you can get a lot of the work done en masse if you have several fields to deal with. You can do things like that and really make your life easier. Okay. You can also drag and drop from this level into the library structure. So if I already know where these files are going, I can map ahead of time and grab the file and pull it directly into the location it needs to go. Now, just the same, you could also go into a folder and drag and drop into here, or hit the plus sign and navigate out to get things put away. The inbox is really kind of a generic area or a general place to deal with things, but if you know where you're going, you can start that folder ahead of time. Okay? So that's the concept of metadata and how we classify and get things put away. Here's some other options. In addition to the inbox, we also have Microsoft Office integration. So in all of Office, including Visio, OneNote, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, all the tools that we're all used to using, up at the top, you're going to find some buttons. So right here in the PowerPoint directory here, you'll see that there is a FileHold button for browsing, where you can browse the system to maybe look for the logos that help make this PowerPoint slide. I could add this slide into the system. I could check it in if I was collaborating with another team member. And I can also attach this as part of a workflow to make sure my marketing department signs off on it before we go any further. Okay, so if I just hit this plus sign, a panel will open up, and just like you saw in the inbox, we're going to have a drop-down list with all of our document types along with the appropriate fields that go with it. So if this is a presentation, I select that one, and I'm now being asked for the author, the presentation type, and any notes that we have. So I have a drop-down list of all my authors. I have a drop-down list of our topics. So let's say industry trends, and this is FileHold. And now I can simply add it into the system right from Office. And those plugins are everywhere. That you'll find them all over the place. So here you'll see them in Microsoft Outlook. Outlook is really handy because I can go into an email and right-click just the attachment and save just the attachment into the system, which is nice. I can also double-click the email and hit this button, and it will read the to, the from, the subject, and the date automatically. It will also read the body or any messages in the email, and it will also crawl the attachments if they're searchable as well. And just like before, we can delete this local copy, we can notify people that it's here, and even shut down Outlook before it goes in. Now, you can also drag and drop from here. Just as a side note, you can pull files in directly if you wanted to. Okay. Another thing that we have here, and I'm just going to pull up a Microsoft Word to show this one more time, but up here at the top, as expected, there's more buttons in the ribbon of Word. This one even goes a little bit further because it's a form. So somebody went to the trouble of making a Microsoft Word form that I can fill out. So I've got a last name, first name, middle initial. There's even a little date picker in here that I can use. But somebody got this form filled out. All you would have to do to read this form is hit this button again. And by doing so, I will tell you what the doc type is, and I will have read all the metadata in that form for you automatically. And again, we're notifying people that it's here, we're centralizing things, we're applying audit trail and security, and we're shutting everything down before we do it. Okay, so a very common, very simple way of getting files into the system in addition to the inbox. All right. Now, the third thing we're going to talk about is this idea of watch folders. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder out here, and we're going to call it policy. Okay, this is just a normal Windows folder. There's nothing special about it. But what I'm then going to do is go back to FileHold and go to Tools, Watch Folders, and I'm going to hit Add. And I'm going to go out and find the folder that I just built. And maybe this is a folder I've been using for years. It doesn't really matter. But in this case, I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to come back in a moment and explain this gray box, but for now I'm just going to hit OK again. And without a whole lot of effort, I've now built an integration point between my desktop and the server where FileHold lives. So now what I'll do is I'm going to clear out the inbox just so you can see a blank slate here. And I'm going to go back to my desktop and begin working. I'm going to create some things for us. I'm going to, a scanned image be the first thing I do. The second one, let's do a spreadsheet. And then one more, let's do a Word doc. Okay, so 3 different document types. It might as well have been 100 or 1,000, it doesn't matter whatsoever. But I'm going to put those 3 documents in that folder, and then I'm going to go to lunch. Meanwhile, at the server, in the inbox, the area that you saw in the beginning, there's a service that's running, and it's going to go look for those watch folders. In somewhere between 7 and 15 seconds, it's going to see if there's any new content. If it finds something, at a minimum, it's going to bring it into the system to someone's attention. Their job will then be to triage through these and figure out what they are and where they're going, just like we did before. And so here they are. We've got these 3 documents, and someone's job would then be to double click it, set metadata, and ultimately get it filed away. Now I can go further than that. I can also go back to that gray box that we skipped over, and I could turn on a rule that says I want you to automatically route these policy documents into where the policies go in our policy and procedure folder. Okay, so now I've built a bridge between my desktop and the server and the location where policies are kept. I can also preset ahead of time what these documents are. So if I'm working on a policy, I might already know the policy type. And I can come in here and say this is a health plan. And I might know the doc number. We'll put a bunch of 7s in here. The issue date was today. This relates to inpatient and in-center care. And we could call this the 2020 health plan. Okay. In essence, what I've done is I've created a bridge that when you put those 3 documents or 300 documents in a folder, FileHold picks them up, brings them in, puts them in the right folder, identifies them as policies, fills in the metadata for you automatically. It may start a workflow letting you know that you've got 7 days to sign off on this health plan company-wide. It may start a retention policy that says in 2 years this is going to go to archive and in 20 years it's going to be deleted. It'll send you email notifications, calendar notifications, and front to back take care of everything we need to do to get this policy implemented. Okay, so this is known as watch folders and also auto tagging or matter-centric filing. The same goal can be accomplished from the folder level inside of FileHold. So it doesn't necessarily have to be an external folder. If I go down to HR here and browse to an employee folder, where we've got Andy's file, and we go down here to employment, it may be hard to see in the video, but there's a little A icon that's here. And if I right click and go to properties, what you'll find is I've got an auto tagging tab that already knows that this is going to be an HR policy document, who the employee name is, their social, this is an employment at will document, and this is the effective date. Okay, so that rule just exists. What's useful about that is if I were to hit this plus sign in Andy's file and go to my desktop, into sample documents, and I'm going to grab this dummy employment at will document and I'm going to hit OK. By doing so, what you will find is all of that metadata has already been taken care of. The only thing I have to do is hit the add button and this is done and filed away. Okay, and now you'll find all those attributes and metadata taken care of and done. So there are lots of opportunities to automate filing in FileHold. This is just some of the ways that you can deal with your content and get things in quickly and efficiently and accurately. Thank you for watching our FileHold video tour series. For more information about FileHold, visit our website at www.filehold.com or reach out to us at sales@filehold.com, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.